The interior walls of a building have to be both practical and aesthetically pleasing. They not only separate the interior space into different rooms and corridors, but they also help keep the mechanical systems like plumbing and electricity from being seen. There are many different types of materials that can be used for interior surfaces, but the two most popular are plaster and the more modern wallboard known as drywall. Today on Built to Last, we're going to take a look at these two types of interior surfaces and see how they're made and installed.
Built to Last is sponsored by Unico Incorporated, manufacturers of the small duct high-velocity HVAC Unico system. Unico is dedicated to the environment and has been serving residential and commercial customers around the corner and around the globe for more than 25 years.
Great Northern Lumber, providing green construction materials from skyscrapers to residential remodel. Proud to serve you for the last 27 years and into the future in the lumber industry.
It's not very often that carpenters get a chance to show off their skills outside the job site. But for some men who hang drywall for a living, today is a very special day. Welcome to the Drywall Olympics, where drywall skills are on display, and some of the best drywallers in North America get a chance to compete against each other in a race to see who can finish first hanging drywall on a 60-foot section of pre-framed wall.
When the competition starts this morning, what the contestants are going to be doing is drywalling these metal stud walls. We're going to start out, as you can see, we have some water pipes, drain pipes. They come around. There's electrical outlets. They need to actually cut around the electrical outlets, screw off the drywall all the way up the studs on the top. They're going to come around. There's more electrical outlets. Then they're going to come to a pre-hung door where they're going to have to drywall around that pre-hung metal door jamb. Continue around, or again, there's more outlets, more cutouts that they have to make, and they will end up at the end of the competition at this end of the mock-up, where they'll put up about 18 sheets of drywall. They'll be judged on their time, quality, make sure that they screw it properly off, cut properly around the openings, and that will be the end of the contest. And then they'll be judged and brought down to the final three. Each contestant has the same mock-up, same amount of material, same equipment. There is no difference in any of the mock-ups. They'll all start at the same time. They'll all be timed. Depending on the contestants, it's going to be a little bit over an hour, and they should be finished up. Hanging 18 sheets of drywall.
As you can tell just by watching, drywalling means a lot to these carpenters. Carpenters have always taken great pride in their work, and it can be seen every day on the job site. Drywall is a very popular material for interior surfaces today, but plaster is another material that even carpenters themselves think of as an art form.
Lath and plaster is a building technique used for creating interior walls. It was popular from the time of Shakespeare up to about the 1950s. Lath and plaster can still be seen in many of today's older buildings, and it's still used for making more complex shapes in walls and ceilings. Joe Feldner has 62 years in this industry. Now, he says that he's a proud plasterer, but you know what? I think he is an expert artisan. So, Joe, tell me a little bit about this big box now that you have in front of us here. These are the tools you need, right?
These are the tools that a plasterer would use for any facet or any part of our trade, be it ornamental work, be it cast work, be it exterior work. These are the tools that complete the whole kit or a whole toolbox of tools.
Now I see something that's kind of interesting here. You've got, what's this?
It's not salad dressing.
I was going to say, is that your lunch? Okay.
This is olive oil, and a good plaster would always carry olive oil when he's working around lime. In the event you get lime in your eye, you don't want to wash it out with water. You use the oil, and it kind of curdles, and you just get the lime out of there. It's a safety. Just like baking a cake.
I was going to say, that looks like frosting, almost good enough to eat. So you've got this outside ingredient is what again?
The outside is lime, which is hydrated lime, soaked lime.
And then you add water, and then what are you putting in now, Joe?
I'm putting in the gauging plaster.
Okay.
Which is the setting agent, which gives this lime the body.
Okay. So I guess you could put in different amounts to make the plaster look different then, huh? Or give it a different consistency? Well,
the gauging plaster gives the lime the body that we need for it to work, obviously. But we can regulate the set so it sets faster or slower. The idea is to have this mixed well, so that it's all. Be careful so you don't get a splash in your eye now.
Okay.
It's got to work, and it's got to be smooth behind that mold. Otherwise it would drag on you and it would tear.
Okay.
Now we're gonna move fast, but
okay.
I'll let you hold this.
Okay. All right. Got it. Oh yeah. Not too heavy, but yeah, after a while of holding it up, I bet that gets to. Got it. Okay.
Let's see how it fits.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
See how we're starting to get our outline already?
Yeah.
It just like grows up there, doesn't it?
Does. I can definitely see the shape. It's really cool. Now, what you said that you were going to save this other half over here. What would that be used for?
That would be to put the finishing touches to it.
Okay, so if there would be like other little ornaments that go along with this, or
to like smooth it out.
oh, okay.
Because we get the very rough profile, and we'll get it almost there, but then you have to what we call sweeten it up.
Okay.
Just like troweling it down, or just like when you're doing perfect taping, you trowel it down. Same.
Okay.
This mold does the same thing that a trowel would do on a wall.
Okay. So, Joe, what are you doing now? You want to put that same plaster on?
I'm putting plaster on this wood lath, which will give you an indication of what it was like years and years ago. You were talking about wood lath, and you can see how the wood lath behind the keys, and there's an application over wood lath, which was a substitute, which was the original plaster.
So that's the same tool then that you're using right now to create a little bit of a design in the, or does that just give a flat finish?
Well, there's a flat finish, but if you wanted a jazz finish, we can do that too. See? And then you just gently flatten that.
Oh my gosh.
There's your stucco finish. Plaster is an art. It is an art. It can be, again, like I said, we can make designs. You can design. You can dream. You can get any texture you want, and you got a feeling for the old wood lath and how it's keyed behind. Because if you look behind, you can see how it gets all the little, whatever you want to call it, how it hangs over. So maybe what we should do is let's take a quick finish on this, and we'll smooth this out just a touch.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joe.
Well, lathing is the base for what a plasterer would put his finish to. It's kind of like the ground of what the plasterer uses to tie in and put his finished product to. Here we have metal lath. Metal lath came out in the late 60s, early 70s. Prior to metal lath, some of you might have demoed an old wall in a home where you had the wood lath strips in the wall and the plaster had been screeded over that. That was put on by a lather. That's where the actual lathing term came from, wood lath or lather. We haven't used wood lath, of course, since the 60s, and that's when we started using metal lath as our backer for our plastering finish. Well, right now he's using tie wire, which is an 18 gauge wire. It's the piece actually I'm holding here. He's using tie wire to loop in and around the lath and tie it to the 3/4 channel iron. And if you'll look here, we have an example of a 3/4 channel iron, a piece of CRC channel. It's 3/4 of an inch thick, it's a 1/2 inch wide, it's 14 gauge material. And then all that's tied together with the 18 gauge wire. Depending on what ties you're making, will be dependent on how many wires you're actually going to use. Lath itself it's a mesh product. If you actually run your hand across it, one way will be rough and the other way will be nice and smooth. And when a plasterer goes ahead and he tries to trowel into this, he's going to want to go the smooth direction with his trowel. That way it'll key up and in to the lath and it'll all tie. If you ever look at an actual ceiling that's been done out of Portland cement or out of plaster, if you look above it, it looks like the surface of the moon. It's all real rough grade, and because the plaster actually keys through the lath and ties up and in to the 3/4 channel iron, so it's all kind of tied together to make one strong shape. Essentially, what you're looking at is a concrete wall, a 3/4 of an inch thick concrete wall, because that's what a Portland cement ceiling or wall actually is. The lath, when it's installed, typically you'll find lath in schools or in churches or in hospitals. So you'll find lath a lot of times used in those scenarios. When you're going to use it in a scenario like this where drywall can't conform to it, I mean, drywall is only going to be able to bend so far. Even if you go to 1/4 inch board, which is made to flex and bend, it's only going to be able to conform to so much of a shape before it's going to start to snap. And then you're going to have to go back to the traditional lath and plaster finish product. This product right now that he's framing out referred to as an external groin ceiling. Essentially what it is where two barrels would come together. The external part comes in because this comes down into a point. You can frame out an external groin like this or an internal groin where instead of it coming down, it would actually go up, kind of like looking up inside an open parachute, you know, where the vanes would be up instead of down. You know, in this scenario here, drywall would have a real hard time bending around to this shape, so you're going to have to go back to lath and plaster, and that's what we're trying to frame out here, is a external groin ceiling. This here we have a barrel ceiling. A barrel ceiling consists of, that's where it got its name, barrel. It looks like a half of a barrel. This would be another method where you would have to go to a plaster ceiling. Some drywall will bend, you know, you can get board to bend only so far, and then once again you're going to have to go back to lath and plaster as a finished product. You also have over here, we've got a soffit that was framed out, and parts of the soffit can be actually framed out of drywall. And parts of the soffit can't be framed out of drywall because the drywall can't bend in two directions at the same time. You might be able to get the drywall to bend one way, but you're not going to be able to get it to bend the other way. So there, you're going to have parts of it done in lath and plaster, and other parts of it can actually be used in, you know, the newer products that we have now, where, you know, 1/4 inch board or whatever thickness board will actually bend and conform to those shapes. And then you can put whatever finish you want on it. You know, you'll see some that are smooth, or rock, or pebble, or swirl. You know, you can kind of, the plasters, I always look at them as they're almost like artists. They can almost take anything, you know, and create out of our rough structure. They can really do some really unique things.
Drywall, like that you see behind me, is a common term used for interior walls that are made from gypsum, a soft mineral component that's pressed between two thick sheets of paper. Since the 1950s, it's been an economical and efficient material to use that offers different properties like fire and mold resistance. Let's go find out more. Steve Rogers is joining me right now. He is the plant manager at National Gypsum. And Steve, I guess this is the place where it all begins, huh?
Yes, this is where it begins.
Okay.
This is the rock pile. We get our rock by ship. And then we also get synthetic gypsum. So this is natural rock, and then this is synthetic.
Okay.
Kind of looks like sand, and this is a byproduct gypsum from coal-fired power plants.
Okay.
And at this point in the process, we have a bulldozer, and he's blending the two to give us a good mix so that we're taking it by this conveyor to the rock dryer to dry off the free water, which is water that's not chemically combined in the gypsum.
Okay, so it goes from the big rock pile on this conveyor belt, it gets all combined, and eventually it's going to be drywall.
Yes. Okay, the mixture that the bulldozer just mixed, the synthetic and natural rock, is going into this building. From here, we're going to screen it. We're going to run it through an impactor for the coarse particles to get down to size. Then we're also drying it. We're shooting it through a flame to dry off all the free water, which isn't part of the chemically combined gypsum water. It's rain, snow, sleet, all that other stuff.
Okay, so the object here is to get it as dry as possible then?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Rock dryer is taking away the free water, which is rain, snow, sleet, and we're left with gypsum. Bring it into the plant here, and there we're going to grind it, and we're going to calcine it. That chemically combined water, we're going to take out 75% of it in the mill. From there, it's called stucco.
And I'm interested in these big spools back here. What's all this material?
This is the other main ingredient of wallboard, which is paper. All of our paper is 100% recycled. And these big rolls, we're going to take the stucco, shoot it in between two sheets of these big rolls of paper, and that's the next step that we're going.
Okay, now how come some of them are different? I see green, tan, and purple.
That's all the different products. In this plant here, we make every product in the company, which is XP product, which is mold resistant, your regular wallboard for residential, your 5/8, which is for commercial construction, and that's just a different time of products. There's a lot of papers, different colors.
Steve, I see a lot of drywall going by us here, so what's happening in this part of the plant?
This is where we form the sheet. We take the stucco that you saw, the rock get ground down in the chemically combined water. From here, we're adding water to it, shooting it in between two sheets of paper, and then we're rehydrating the gypsum back in this sheet long enough to go to the night where it's hard enough to cut. This is the knife area, and what we're doing is we're cutting that sheet that we formed at the wet end. It's 800 feet long. We're cutting it to length. We're flipping it so we don't damage the face in the kiln. We're grouping it side by side and loading the kiln so that we can dry the board in the kiln.
Okay, about how many degrees is that kiln? It's pretty warm in here.
It's 3 zones, and it's about 550, 550, and then 350.
Okay, and how long does that process take for it to get through the kiln?
From the wet end through the kiln is about 50 minutes. And then about this location of the plant, we finish cut it, we bundle it, we put tape on it for our customer, and then we stack it in the warehouse.
Looks like your warehouse, huh?
Yes, this is where we stock our board after we make it for our customer. We have 5/8 Calcor over here, which is a plaster-based product, chap wall liner there, and regular half-inch wallboards right in behind us for our residential customers.
So all of those different variations that you've told me about, that's coincides with the different colors on the drum.
Yes, that way the customer and the architect know exactly what they expect for the job is on the wall by the various colors.
I'm glad that you talked about that, because it seems with all of these different varieties that you have of drywall, you can cover pretty much any need for residential and commercial use, huh?
Yes, we ship our half-inch and our 5/8 locally, and then some of the products, we're only one of a handful of plants in the country that run it, so we ship those nationally.
Okay, and so from here, it gets loaded onto a truck and gets, you know, sent out to wherever it needs to go then, huh?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for the tour today, Steve. It was really interesting.
You're welcome.
Next up, we're going to be talking about metal studs versus wood studs at this commercial construction site. Dave Delanese from Hunzinger Construction is joining me today. And Dave, the first thing I want to ask you, I see a lot of metal studs right here. What are the pros in using metal versus wood here?
Well, metal studs have a lot of advantages. They're packaged together, they can be pre-cut to length, and the walls that we put up are very straight. They're plumb, there's no twisting, there's no cupping, there's no shrinkage, there's no crowning. All the disadvantages that wood have are eliminated with a metal product.
Okay, and I see that you've got some holes pre-cut into these metal studs, and that's something that happens when you use these?
Electrical and plumbing can be run through those pre-cut holes, and it makes for a much faster installation and a much straighter and true wall.
So when you've got a long hallway, you aren't going to have those nail pops that you might see with wood.
You won't see any nail pops, and the walls will be incredibly straight because we set them up using a self-leveling laser.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then what about the strength of metal? Like say if I wanted to hang some heavy cabinetry or something like that.
Studs come in a variety of gauges and thicknesses, so we can get walls that are incredibly straight, incredibly strong, and we can hang just about anything off of those studs.
Okay, so you've got the sustainability, the longevity, because I'm assuming it lasts for years and years.
It lasts basically forever, and it's constantly able to be recycled. There's no waste because you can recycle any of the clippings. It's inert. It doesn't absorb any water. There's no ability for mold growth. And when we're done with that wall, we can take it apart, ship it back to the foundry, and create new studs. So it's a fantastic product if you're looking to green your project up.
Moving on now to a different location at the same commercial job site. We're going to be talking about wallboard with Brad Casberry from Hunzinger Construction. Okay, so where are some of the applications where these different types would be used?
Firstly, like a fire-resistant wallboard. Most commercial buildings are multiple floors. Fire codes are, if you have a shaft like a stairwell or an elevator in a building, you must protect the fire and the smoke go from floor to floor. So there you have like a fire-rated assembly, which is usually a metal stud drywall assembly that is built and prevents the transmission of fire and smoke from floor to floor.
Sure, okay. And then maybe what about like impact wall?
Impact resistance is becoming very popular in restaurants and schools. It's a little bit more of a harder material. They formulate the core to resist the denting and the scraping and the cutting that is produced in a more public area.
Okay, and then something I would be interested in as a homeowner would be maybe something like mold resistance?
Yes, mold is a very popular word in construction nowadays. Everyone's concerned about moisture and the mold and the health of the inhabitants of the building. It's generally formulated with a different type of paper. Sometimes the paper is actually treated with a mold-resistant product, and they're using it far often in like restaurants and where there's water. Restaurants, bathrooms, shower rooms, gyms, schools, hospitals, anywhere mold is very prevalent and must be kept away from the inhabitants.
Right, okay, let's talk a little bit about being green because everybody's so interested in that these days. Is this a green product?
Yeah, you can get green product, and what is meant by green is not the color, it's basically the way it's made. The paper on the surface is like a recycled paper, you know, just like newspaper. The core, which is a gypsum product, a lot of times when we do demolition jobs, we go dumpster by dumpster, we have strictly a drywall dumpster. They take that, grind it up, separate it, and then they take the powdered material and make it back into gypsum into a new wallboard.
Really interesting. Thank you so much, Brad. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
As the drywallers continue to work on their sections of the wall, the crowds start to gather and fans of some of the competitors show their support. It's important to not only be the first one done, but the quality of the work is a big factor. Many competitors make sure that all of the wall sections are installed properly. Onlookers start to gather next to what looks like a winner and wait for the completion of the wall. Finally, 33-year-old Ohio carpenter David Gibson finished the 60-foot section of drywall in 52 minutes and 2 seconds. Today, Gibson and the other competitors really showcase their talents. But every day, their skills can be seen in almost every room in almost every building.
Gypsum wallboard is a mineral material that helps to reduce the impact on the environment, but there are other materials that are emerging to help meet the needs of the sustainable building industry. Things like synthetic gypsum and other green materials that are also environmentally friendly. I'm Jana Peterson, and thanks for watching Built to Last.
Visit the Built to Last website to learn about these topics and more.
Built to Last is sponsored by Unico Incorporated, manufacturers of the small duct high-velocity HVAC Unico system. Unico is dedicated to the environment and has been serving residential and commercial customers around the corner and around the globe for more than 25 years.
Great Northern Lumber, providing green construction materials from skyscrapers to residential remodel. Proud to serve you for the last 27 years and into the future in the lumber industry.